In today's episode, anyone can teach, but why? Today, we are with a dynamic duo of teaching, Bob and Diane Wido. Thanks for joining us. There's all kinds of really fantastic, diverse, incredibly talented teachers with the Encore program, but you guys are a little bit unique.
Is that good or not?
And I wanted to explore that with you guys today. You have diverse, in some ways, backgrounds. You have, and I guess I should clarify for everybody, your spouses to one another.
We are.
And you have, in some ways, diverse backgrounds, and in some ways, you have very similar backgrounds. Bob, you're spent a lot of time as a military chaplain for the Air Force.
Yes.
Diane, you were a nurse and a missionary, and Bob, you were a missionary as well. And I think it's a romantic and cute story how you guys met. So, can you tell me a little bit about how you came to be with each other?
Well, for me, I was single, and I kind of thought I'd be always single. I worked. I was a nurse. I wanted to almost always wanted to be a nurse. Worked in West Africa, and tropical disease, all that kind of stuff. I worked with women and children a lot, but I also taught Bible classes. I learned French. I learned a West African language, and I worked at a place that was training pastors and pastors' wives in Guinea, West Africa. And it was wonderful. And sometimes it was very stressful, but it was where I really found I loved to teach, whether it was health classes for village women or whether it was Bible classes for guys who wanted to be a pastor who had maybe just a high school education.
It obviously sounds like stressful, challenging, hot
Yes.
work.
It was.
But I imagine as well that it was very rewarding because most of your students wanted to be there and wanted
Yeah.
this knowledge.
They absolutely did. Or maybe some of the wives. I had one woman who came in and they said, "You're going to now start learning some French because that would be good for you. And you're going to learn to read and write," because she had never, ever been to school. And she picked up a pen and she is like, "This is the first time in my life I am holding a pen." I never thought I had to. But, there was a sense of wanting to show them what they're capable of and elevating their abilities. And it was a joy. I think that's that thing, that aha moment when someone learns something they didn't even want to learn and find that it's worthwhile.
And literacy, I think, especially is just one of these grand gifts that you can give to somebody because then they can learn all kinds of stuff all by themselves.
Yep, that's right.
Now, Bob, tell me a little bit about you were doing some teaching, I imagine, as a chaplain.
I was. So my background was that I felt called into the military chaplaincy, the Air Force specifically. I went to seminary with that idea, and then I was a pastor for 8 years in Western PA before I had the opportunity to go on active duty in 1991. So I went on active duty in 91 as a chaplain. Unfortunately, my wife at the time had breast cancer. And she survived until my second assignment, but sadly, she passed away in 1997. I was stationed at Wright-Patterson at the time as a chaplain. And it was during that time then that after Donna died, several months later, I went to church, and that's where I met Diane. Diane was home on home service from Africa, and I was raising 2 kids on my own, and we met, and we sort of recognized each other because we'd been to the seminary at the same time. I was a married student at the time.
Yeah.
So we got an opportunity to kind of compare notes where, who do we know and where have we been and all the rest. And that's how it all started.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm sorry for your loss, but
Well, I am too. I am too. But,
yeah.
God says he makes beauty for ashes. And I think he did. I think he took the disaster of a moment and helped to redeem it.
And when you say you're being led, I mean, this really through trial, through triumph.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
This is a great story. Now, did you do any like teaching informally as a chaplain?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I preached every Sunday at chapel. And throughout the course of the week, you'd be doing lots and lots of welcoming of new people to the base, new people into the military. We'd get together with all the young airmen this was their first duty assignment, and we talked to them about how to succeed in the Air Force as an 18-year-old straight out of tech school. So we did a lot of teaching and worked with the Family Support Center, the psychologists, psychiatrists, doing all kinds of stuff, plus a lot of counseling. Did a lot of counseling.
And it's not to say that you didn't have empathy before, but the hardships that you've both been through have lent a depth or a perspective to empathy that I imagine, especially people coming to you as a chaplain in crisis, it's a little more relatable.
It's more relatable. It's also sometimes frustrating when people come in and they're like, my wife didn't make the bed this morning and she yelled at me. And it's like, dude,
But you have a wife.
no idea how much you have to be thankful for.
Yes, exactly. Well, and a civilian wife may not know how to do those squared off corners well either, right?
But as his military career went on and he became more and more in leadership, there was a lot of opportunities for him to do teaching as well, not just in the chapel setting, but in the military setting and with mentoring other chaplains and
Yes,
doing
absolutely.
seminars and all that. So
So
I
you,
traveled all over Europe talking about various counseling techniques, and it was fun. I enjoyed that kind of that kind of teaching.
without naming names, obviously, I mean, what's some of the crises or issues that people were coming to you with?
Well, there were a number. Infidelity was an issue that was constant in the military, and that was kind of what I did my master's degree on, is how to help couples through the issue of infidelity. Deployments are difficult. You've got a young family and mom goes away for 6 months and dad's home with the kids, or vice versa. We had a lot of counseling with people who just didn't like the military, and they were in, and there are certain gates that you can get out of the military, but it's not Burger King, and you can't have it your way. You can't just punch out whenever you want to.
Well,
So it was difficult for some people.
yeah, well, and like, I think you guys mentioned that you guys, one of the things the military loves to do is mix things up every once in a while. So you're being transferred around to different
A
places.
year or two for a while there, we were moving to someplace different.
But if you're in a forward position, you really don't want to have your family there with you.
no.
And so
No,
very
boy, the
difficult.
family never goes. No, never like that.
And very difficult to have a relationship from a long distance in any situation.
It can be. It can be very difficult. Diane and I have a very strong and good relationship, and that helps a lot. Not everybody has that.
yeah. In fact, when Bob and I first met, he got assignment to leave. And we were just starting to consider, would there ever be anything for us? Because, I mean, I was going back to Africa. I had my shots and everything, and yet he says, I'm moving. Long distance relationships don't work. I mean, I've seen it be hard on a marriage,
Yeah.
and so we have had our deployments through that.
Sure.
But, there has to be a lot of trust in each other. And communication and being kind and respectful and joyful
Sure.
in the midst of all of that.
When we were contemplating marriage, I was assigned to a fighter base in Tucson, Arizona, and Diane was living in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. So we were a goodly distance away from each other.
Yeah.
Wow. And was this for a long period of time? Was
So
this
3 years.
3 years? So yeah, fair enough, long enough time. Now, in all of this, and there's no right or wrong answer here, but I want to hear from each one of you. In all of this, eventually you come to teach at the Encore program for Tri-C.
Yeah.
And how have these experiences affected your approach to teaching? Whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I think that through the years, whether it's been in Africa with, a 16-year-old who just married a pastor, or something, I'm
I'm
connecting.
sorry for interrupting. Is that the age of consent in West Africa?
It
16?
is pretty much. It was often 16, 17-year-olds that hadn't gone to college, high school,
Right.
And some of the people were older when they got married, but often about a 15 to 17-year-old girl would marry somebody who was about 25, 30 years old. In the culture that I worked in, that was pretty typical. And so I had these really young girls having babies for the first time and learning to be a wife and all of that. But so and a lot of them did come from a rural environment. So honestly, the thing was to connect. My classes at Tri-C will find that I really try to kind of put a name and a face together and try to get to know them. I love chatting with them after class a little bit or finding out what their background is a little bit. Because to me, I have learned through both the military and my time in West Africa, all of that it's really about my story and the Bible story or whatever, or the travel story that I'm telling and how it intersects with an individual. And I think I have learned, granted, you're teaching to a full classroom, but different people also have a story that brings it into that. And so for me, I have really learned the power of story. I think with people and all of that, and that affects the way I teach.
Well, when you're looking into a room full of people,
Yeah.
3 or 13 or 30 or however many
Right.
it is,
Yeah.
and you're seeing a look on somebody's face,
Yeah.
they're communicating something back to
Yes.
you.
Yes.
And right, really good teachers like yourselves, I think, can respond to that. You have
Yeah.
the level of empathy to be able to relate to what's going
That's
on.
exactly right.
And then it becomes a little more personal to each one of these students when they see that. And Bob, I want to give you a chance to. How has all of this affected how you approach teaching?
I think that what Diane said about story is really, really true. When I teach a class, and one of the classes I teach is about different denominations in Christianity. So when I talk about Lutherans, I've got good friends who are Lutheran chaplains or Baptist or Catholic or rabbis. And so all of these guys, I'm able to tell stories or bring in some insight because of my background in the military.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, because we've lived around the world, we can relate to people who are different than we are, and we enjoy people. And we really do enjoy people. When we get in class and we hear people's stories and we see where they come from. I often teach classes on the post-World War II era. And of course, everybody has lived that, and everybody has their own stories about the 70s and what it was like growing up in the 70s and things like that. So it's a fun class because we all have experiences with that. It's our generation.
And do people then share their perspectives?
All the time. Yeah.
And so it sort of becomes cathartic.
I think it does. It always amazes me when people come up to me and they're very conspiratorial and I say, I lived through the 70s. And I feel like saying,
and you remember?
We're all dead.
We all did.
Yeah, lived through the 70s. So it's fun for that reason to hear this is very applicable. And I like history that I can relate to, like the 1970s rather than the 1570s,
Well, and doesn't every story, whether it's biblical or contemporary or something like that, doesn't it hold some level of instruction for us, a cautionary tale?
Yeah.
For God's sakes, whatever you do, don't do this.
Yeah.
Or right, there's biblical tales that inspire you. Well, if this person can screw up their courage and do this, right? I'm thinking of Esther or something like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Then maybe I can do that too. And these, whatever we're going to call them, literary stories, metaphors, spiritual truths, however we're going to label them, right? They become instructional to us. Is that?
Oh, yeah. If I might say, one of the things that you learn about, like both of us were at seminary, and we learned a little bit about presenting a sermon or a teaching point. And they talked about, the stories and the illustrations and stuff are the raisins in the oatmeal. It's the good stuff. It's the stuff people remember. And Bob is really good at this, at having the stories. But I really like, too, the idea of the so what factor. So what? Why does this matter? And so whether, like, just a silly
Fascinating. No, tell me.
Oh, like
This is
the
awesome.
silly thing is about my Antarctica class. There's the day where I talk about the fish and the sea animals in Antarctica and how they have a component in their blood that functions. It's a protein that functions like an antifreeze, so that their blood does not freeze in those freezing waters. But they have tried to find in the United States or in the world that we live in a way to apply this, and they've thought about putting it in ice cream so that it doesn't crystallize. And
Oh
it's,
my God.
and it's kind of like funny, but that would be a so what factor, kind of thing that everybody kind of goes, ew, a fish protein in my ice cream, But seriously, it's interesting, like with Bob's classes too, about the Cold War or whatever is going on. It's just, how does this affect us going forward?
Um,
So easy to talk, isn't it?
it is. I'm still processing the fish protein that's acts as antifreeze, and you're right. Talk about adapting to your environment.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, is there any other things that you want to add?
I'd say that Diane and I are two people who really enjoy each other. We enjoy teaching. We enjoy lifelong learning. I think that's an important thing for people our age, to always be reading, always be learning, always be doing something.
Yeah.
And I really encourage the people in Encore to engage. Find classes online, find podcasts or books, and learn new things. That's what keeps you young.
If your brain is not growing, just like your muscles, they start to atrophy.
Well, they do. They absolutely do.
And we have to keep our brains active, and I think that's one of the greatest things about this. And so I'm
Yes.
going to end today with I'm just going to plant a little seed amongst you two, that you two should come up with a class that you co-teach together. I think that would be a fascinating class, and I hope to see that one day soon at the Encore classes.
We'll see what we can come up with.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We enjoy each other. And Ted, thank you. You are such a great host, moderator.
are.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming by.
Our
We'll
pleasure.
see you at the Encore classes.
Okay, will do.
Perfect.
Thanks.